Yes, viewers, listeners worldwide. My name is Joe Jesmel Ube. I'm the anchor person. Right here with me is my beloved daughter, Stella. Yeah. Uh, Stella, how do you feel being interviewed by your father, your mentor, your pastor in YDI studio?
I feel honored because I've been seeing a lot of people having theirs, and I'm like, one day,
Well,
one day, one day. And then today, I mean, when you're not even thinking about it, it just
yeah,
happens, and
yeah.
it's like a miracle.
Yes, in His time, He makes all things beautiful.
Yeah.
I had this thought. I said, no, I have to bring this girl to come and share with us how she was able to make first class, from OAU. Was it intentional? Were you intentional?
Yeah.
Or it just happened because we're naturally intelligent?
No, I don't think it was because I was naturally intelligent. I think
Talk louder because.
I don't think it was because I was naturally intelligent. It was because I was surrounded by people who had done it.
Okay.
So it was
In
like
your house or in YDI or
YDI.
okay, okay,
So it was
okay.
like in their light, I saw light.
Wow. Say that again.
In their light, I
Okay.
saw light.
Wow.
So through them, I saw possibilities. I thought that it was possible. And
Wow.
for blessed memory, it was Shegun Afolabi.
Yeah,
He was
Shege.
very instrumental.
Yeah.
I remember one day in school, he just called me and said, "Guess what? That he just made the first class from his results. That he knows that I can do it.
University.
So this is a challenge."
Mm.
I was like, if you can do it, I can do it. So now you're my friend. We roll well. I know things you can do. I can do the same. And I took up the challenge, and so that was how. Then I became intentional because there were deliberate steps that I had to take. Besides proposing in my heart that I wanted to have a first class,
Okay.
I prayed. I remember one of the things that I did when I got to Ife was I pulled my shoes one night.
Wow.
And I walked around
The
campus, and I was
beautiful
prophesying.
campus. Ife is beautiful.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was saying I take charge, I will win, I take charge of the lecturers, I will be favored, no
Wow.
scripts, no, I was just, speaking words and
Yeah.
saying things and taking possession of the land anywhere the sole of my feet shall tread. I will take possession. I said all of that, and then I got to work. Another thing I did was I was very intentional about my friends, the people that I moved with, because I didn't want anybody that would dampen my spirits. Because I think that one of the things I've come to identify is that words really spoil me. Like when I hear people say something, it usually gets to me. So I always protect like my ear gates, things that I
But
hear.
it's only you. I think like that most people, particularly ladies, women. Words. Ladies are moved by the words that they hear. Men are moved by sight. You know.
And so I just told myself. So I started having conversations with my friend. I was asking them, now that we're here, what do you want to graduate with? People said, this school is very hard. I don't want
Very
to
hard.
get I just
Wow.
want 2-1. I just want 2-1. So I didn't tell them what I was asking. But their answers determined the level of relationship that we had.
Okay.
So people who said
That's
first class
smart.
were the people that I worked closest with. But I still worked with other people that had 2-1 and all of that. But I stayed more with people that were in the first class group so that we are aligned and I don't shift my ground and say, maybe if first class is not for me, maybe I should do it. I don't want maybe. I know why I'm here. And again, when you know where you're coming from and the picture of the future that you have, you know that your message or your gospel will sail faster when you're a first class student.
Wow. Say that again, eyeball to eyeball. Tell them. I hear that. Just raise
your
your phone.
message will go faster when you have certain results, like having a first class. People will listen to you because it takes a lot of grief,
Just like we're listening to you now.
to have a first class, particularly in a school like Obafemi University. Combination of God and human factors.
Um, Graduating from Ife with a first class shows clearly that you must have really invested. academically. When you finish ministry, I, at the conference, I said to you, I said, Stella, your first class was not dashed or was not given to you free of charge. You earned it. You earned it.
You tried. I'm proud of you. This first class, they no dash you at all. This first class, they didn't dash you. No. It was wow.
It was not dash. Nobody dash you.
I just try to make sure anything I'm doing, I try to get the best out of it. Because even when I went to Yabatek, I graduated with a distinction as well.
Wow.
So if I told myself I have to graduate with the first class, and then when I went for my master's,
why didn't you progress to have HND?
I didn't want to, because I knew the discrimination and everything in the market. So like the best thing to do is just to go for a BSc.
Okay.
Yes. So that's
BSc in what?
Public administration.
Okay.
And then first go for a master's in Atlantic University, media and communication, and I had a distinction there.
For your masters. I'm happy for you. Yes, you said something about Segun Afolabi. Yeah. Being your pastor, I know that both of you were really close. Yeah. We were planning something so serious. So when you heard about his demise, how did you feel? Did you feel terribly bad or what?
Oh yes, I was at work. So that day at work, people were calling me, saying, "No, we're trying to reach Segun. We cannot reach him." And at that time, I know that Segun has 2 phone numbers. Okay. One for the general public and one for inner circle family. So we don't give that number. Segun that gives you that number if he thinks that you are close enough. So I was like, oh no, he's busy. He must be working on a project. Maybe just me time. And I also didn't want to call to find out. I said, no, he must be busy. His neighbor called me. I said, it didn't occur to me that anything would have happened. I was like, oh, maybe he's busy. Until later at night that day, when one of my friends, one of our mutual friends called me and said, Segun probably was dead. I said, which Segun? I was in the restroom. So I went to the restroom and picked the call. Okay. And I collapsed on the floor there and they carried me home. Yeah. I could not put myself, I could not imagine. I was thinking, if it was so bad, I was thinking of members of my family that I could swap. Like, God, no, take this person. This person is a troublemaker to us in this family. Please, let it not be Segun. It was so wrong. Like, it took me I was still saying it this morning to Pastor Ade that I don't think I've still recovered because I'm still in the same environment. Bagaga, I pass the same road, I see the same house all the time. The memories. Yes. I remember Segun was instrumental to many things, even investment. Segun was the first person that taught me about investment. Wow. Segun was the first person that helped me invest in treasury bills. Oh, my goodness. I didn't even understand it.
He read economics.
Yes, and he was working in an investment bank. Okay. Yeah, so he was the one that taught me about investment. Segun was the first person that told me when he said 1 million naira. Wow. And I said, Segun had first class. I followed his footsteps. I had first class. Segun has 1 million. It means that I can have 1 million naira. So it was part of like my wins when he also made more money and he started investing in alternative asset classes like agriculture. He was educating me about it. He was teaching me about it. So I was really looking forward, always learning his PowerPoint skills. Segun was really talented. Like.
So how did you feel when YDI named the scholarship award after him to immortalize him in YDI? How did you feel?
I felt like he was. Okay. It was great. Yeah. It was expected. It was something that was long overdue.
Yeah, we missed him as a ministry because he added so much value, being the president of Associates, a group of YTI. And he was always briefing me, talking to me and everything. So He was the one that told me that when he was in Covenant University, there were 3 places you will always find him: hostel, library, and chapel.
Yeah.
That if you're looking for him in Covenant University and you go to the library, you're likely to find him there. Or you go to the chapel to pray, to fellowship, and then hostel.
Yeah, I learned that from him. Triangle lifestyle.
Yeah, triangle lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, yes, short life, but he added value. So that's from him. I've learned to cover you guys, my children. I say affliction shall not rise up the second time. I've been intentional, I've been deliberate, praying for all of you in YDI that none of you go the way of Uwaechue again. No, because it surprised me. And the funny thing was that he was killed by youths.
Yeah.
Do you understand? You know the story very well now.
Yeah, I know the person.
Oh, you know the person.
That's a shame.
Terrible. I think it was because of envy. They were envious of him, that a young man like this will have this kind of posh car, working in a very fine place, and he's always coming home, and look at us, we are just security, blah, 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 blah. No. Envy is a very dangerous thing.
Yeah, and something else that I think I learned from Segun's demise is the fact that as God blesses us, we need to be sensitive to some things, knowing where we outgrow a certain place. Because one of the things that I spoke to him about was the fact that I think he needed to change his environment. That I think you have outgrown this place. You have been here for a while. Like people have seen you grow, they've seen you acquire things, and it might not be working the same way for them. And like you said, envy.
Envy.
It's the only one older than me. Why is he doing this? So sometimes we should not stay maybe too long in a place. I know that it's not easy. It's not something that they're like, when there's nothing wrong with the place, still basically for me, I can still stay here. Sometimes we just need to move because of people around us.
Yeah, it's good. Let's move on.
Yeah.
You don't have to move on, particularly you, because if you don't move on, to find a relationship will be a difficult thing. Are you into any relationship now?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. So I advise you publicly. Everybody's watching. Let go. Yes, let's go back to our discussion on academic excellence. I wrote a book, Pathways to Academic Success. It was written by a deliberate, concerted action to impact young folks how to excel in their academics. Now, to the glory of God, you are a template of what I've written about. Now, can you give us 2-3 things, 2-3 factors, 2-3 motivational boosters that have helped you to make first class, to make distinction everywhere? You don't do distinction everywhere.
Okay, so I would say have a goal.
A goal.
Have a plan.
A plan.
And the goal and the plan will be backed by your habits.
Wow. That's heavy.
Because you can have a goal, you can have a plan, but with the wrong habits, the goal and the plan will fail.
Explain.
Because your habits, the things that you
do constantly,
determines your destiny, whether you know it.
Okay.
So, for example, you're saying, I want to be healthy.
Okay.
But you are drinking soda every day and you're eating junk every day. You've told yourself, I want to be healthy. But the factors that helps healthiness, you are doing contrary things.
Okay.
So if you continue consuming those wrong things, like so much soda and maybe junk food, the results you would have is obesity, maybe diabetes or liver disease, and it shows that your habit chooses your destiny. So the same thing, if you say you want academic excellence, you have to ask yourself what habits would drive and promote academic excellence. And academic excellence means different things to different people. For some people, it's first class. For some people, it's 2-1. So once you now determine to say the goal that I have is to have a first class, that is just grand. That is the big vision. But there are steps that you need to take. And that's where planning comes in. So you need to have a plan. Like, if I know that maybe this question will come up, I have a book
that you have written.
No, I have a book like for planning when I was in school. So at the beginning of the term, I write out all the topics. And it was a tabular, yes, an exercise book. Yes, a tabular format. I drew tables. The number of the courses that I would take, the grades that I want to have in those courses.
Wow.
What my CA score should be, and what my exam score should be.
Wow.
So for my CA score, I will write.
Which one CA?
Tests, like continuous assessment, like all those quick tests that they need to check. So it's usually, it depends. Sometimes it's always over 40, then the exam will be 60. Sometimes it's 30, and the exam will be 70. And ideally, we know that 70 is an A, but I'll never plan for 70. Because if you plan for 70, it means you can drop to 68. So I'll plan for 90. So that if I don't make 90, at least I'll make maybe 80. So you know how they say, aim for this. The sky or the sun. No, if you don't get it, you drop on the star, or at least you get something in the sky, not that you're coming back to the earth. Right? So I have that table. And I tell myself, for my test, if it's over, let's use 30. If it's over 30, I want to have at least 25. Because when you have good grades in your test and your CA, you don't need to struggle too much during exam. And because you also don't know what might be happening to you during that exam period, you might be swamped, the timetable might not be in your favor. Get as much easy marks as you can get during your CA, so that in the exams you can now, you know where to put all of your effort. So what I do is, when on my CA I've written I want 25 over 30, I do my CA and then the result comes out, and I see that I have 18. I know that I've not done well. I need to really double up. I need to speed up my performance. So at the end of the towards the exam, at the end of the period, I check all of my CAs to say, okay, maybe in psychology, altogether, after all the tests, I had 20 over 30. It means that in the exam, if I want to get an A, because it's 70, I need to get at least 50. So I can't afford to get 50. So I now ask myself, okay, this exam, they're going to give us maybe 5 questions, one compulsory question, 20 marks. I now begin to allocate it. And then I use past questions to help me. And then I read, and then that's how I do it. But there's always a plan.
A plan.
There's always a
plan. You talked about the goal, set a goal for yourself that you're going to make first class, and then begin to work on your plan. And then your habits.
Is your habit. So I read every day.
That's one of your habits, right?
Yes, even if I've read it before, even if there's nothing new to read, I still go back to read every day. And because of how our educational system is in Nigeria, you need to also understand your lecturer. It's part of the habits you need to have. Observation. There are some things you learn by observation. There are some things you learn from conversation. So you need to be able to decipher which one was, because there are some lecturers that like you to give them la cram la pop. Is what they taught you. They want you to regurgitate back. They don't expect you to add your own thinking. So that kind of lecturer, I can't tell that type of when the lecturer gives, when you're doing that lecturer's exam, you cannot say you have an idea. Just give it. And again, some courses demand that you do that. For example, if you're doing law and you want to quote something that Baron de Montesquieu said in 1869, you can't be using your type of English because it's contemporary KJV English. So you have to write it the way he wrote it. So some courses require you to do la cram la pot. There are some courses that require you to use your own words. They want to see your thinking. They want to see your thought pattern. So just understand and give to Caesar what is Caesar's based on the course that you're doing.
I want to ask about banking. When you left university, you were hired by one of the top banks in Nigeria. How many years do you commit to it, to the bank, before you left?
Relatively 4 years and a month. Yes, 4 years and a month.
Why did you leave? Were you sacked?
No. No,
Were you fired?
nah.
Why did you say nah? Okay, what happened?
I wanted to explore. I wanted to learn something new.
Okay.
So what I realized was one of the ways you check your marketability and
In the bank or
in the general market
okay.
space, in the labor force, you want to check your marketability or your value. One thing I do is, even though I had a job where I was, being promoted well, very convenient, I sort of found out that it looked like I was in my comfort zone. Like
you were in your comfort zone.
Yes, I felt like I wasn't being challenged.
Wow.
There were some tasks that when I was first given the task, it would take me 3 days to complete it. All of a sudden, I'm doing it in 3 hours.
Wow.
Nothing new is coming. I didn't feel like they were using my.
What were you into there?
Okay, so I had different job descriptions. I moved from strategy to data analytics to digital banking. And the reason why I had all of this move was because my boss could see that this lady, she's tired of routines. She wants new things. You always have to spice it up, but you can see it in my face. Like, I gave myself job descriptions that were not mine. I started doing research. For example, the research I mentioned that I was doing every morning before I get to work. I'm going to read Nairametrics, ProShare, Bloomberg. I will prepare a report. Even though there was another department whose responsibility was that, I took it upon myself. I felt like the report was not good enough. That my own report would be better because I understand the business objectives, I understand where they're headed, I understand competitive analysis. So I was writing it from an informed decision than the person who is just doing it as this is just my job. I did that something I was passionate about. I was always sharing that. And then sometimes, like I said as well, that one of the things that I usually do every year to check my value is to read the future of work report and the jobs of the future, where I'm looking at the top 10, 25 skills to say which one do I have. If the skills that I have are now being relegated to the back, I need to see the skills that are coming to the fore and ask myself which one do I have. If I don't have, what certification do I need to take? What association do I need to belong to so that I can still be relevant? Because the world before usually take maybe 10 years to change, 15, 20 years, but now the world just changes every 6 months or every with technology. So you can't just stay there and say, I used to be great. There's no I used to be great.
You talked about how you brought it was a research or something, and your manager was your director was overwhelmed with that.
So it was.
I think that report helped him. Talk about it.
Okay, so it was one day at work. I read on my way to work. I read that one of our competitors at that time had bought a bank in Kenya.
Okay.
And so when I saw the information, I didn't just stop there. Like I mentioned that problem identification is not a skill.
Problem identification is not a skill.
It is preparing solutions to the problem. That is the skill. That's the ultimate skill. So when I saw that our competitor had bought a bank in Kenya, I didn't just stop there and just read the headline. I dug deeper to say what kind of bank did they buy? Why did they buy the bank? I went to research about the bank. I read about the bank. What is the bank into? Because you have different banks, just like you have commercial bank, merchant bank.
Okay.
In that country, that bank was an agricultural bank. Okay. Why did they buy an agricultural bank? And I read about it and then I prepared the report. And my boss at that time had an early meeting, so he hadn't read the report, and I saw him stepping out. And that's where we can never remove God. The Holy Spirit just nudged me and prompted me to say, go and tell your boss this information before he goes where he's going to. So I went to him, and as he was walking to the meeting. I said to him, I have something to tell you. You know how bosses are always in a hurry, like, okay, what do you want to say? I have a meeting. But there are some people, because you are a value-adding person, they will not brush you off. If it was another person who was always later, I said, don't worry, later when I come. But he listened to me, and I mentioned, our competitor just bought a bank in Kenya, an agricultural bank, and the reason why I think they bought it was because of the AFTA agreement. And he just listened, and I'm like, okay, thank you. And then he went for the meeting, And when he came back, he said, everybody stand up and give Stella a round of applause. Like I've told you people, it's not about walking, it's not about pressing Excel, running numbers. You have to read, get information. Do you know that immediately I entered the meeting,
Wow.
the first thing that a board member asked me was, why do you think that bank bought that bank in Kenya? Can you tell us about it before you start your presentation? Imagine she didn't come to tell me. A whole CFO with how would I have felt? That would have been embarrassing because even though my presentation was great, that was not the focus at the time. So we always need to value information. So at that time, I knew that I had gotten visibility in the place of work and also had become a credible person. So anytime they needed information, or if somebody told my boss that information, would say, Stella has not told me, let me. So,
were you paid for that?
No.
Added value.
Yes. Okay,
when you were leaving, did you? Did he feel like, oh, Stella, don't go?
Oh yes, he wants me to come back.
Oh, so if you want to go back now, but you can't go back now.
Well, I don't know. If it's going to be something exciting.
Okay.
Yes,
like how much money or what?
No, I don't want to go to routine. I want a job description that solves real world problems.
Wow.
Where I see that my job has a purpose and an impact. That I can say this thing that I'm doing has saved this. Like I can write an impact report on my job, not just pushing profits. Because you can make profit without making impact. I don't want I want profits with purpose. I want income with impact, not just income.
You're blowing my mind.
I just want something that, because the world has a lot of problems. And there are so
the
many
world has a lot of problems. And it's like every day iniquity is abounding.
Yes.
That's the Bible, that's what the Bible says.
Yes.
It's in the last days iniquity shall abound. And because iniquity shall abound, love of many wax cold. That's the thing. And we can't escape problems. Problems will always be available.
Yes.
So it's solution that we are looking for. The world is looking for problem solvers, solution providers. So this new place, are you just freelancing or you have your own company that is challenging you? Can you tell us more about it? And mind you are talking to my youth majorly and my parents, partners all over the world. I will say, oh, you must watch this podcast by Pastor Joe. There's a lady that, said this, said that. Please watch it.
So
look at the camera about your eyeball.
Currently, I decided to join a startup because we know that everything is now about people talking about tech and all of that. And one of the things I said is I want to be able to talk about my career paths, the job that I do, which is investor relations, from various perspectives.
Okay.
So I have worked in the bank.
Okay.
I've done investor relations.
Okay.
I know how it works there. Okay. I've worked in investment banking. Okay. I know investor relations, how it works there. Okay. But I've never been in a startup environment, in a technology environment to say I know how investor relations work there. Okay. So I'm currently in a startup technology.
Is it your own or with a group of friends?
It's a group of partners.
Okay.
Yes, and then I'm seeing how it works.
Okay.
Because you know how when you're working in a structured environment, such as a bank that has been in existence for a while, there are some things that you will still not be exposed to. There are some rooms you will not have access to just yet. Based on not because they don't like you, because there's always a hierarchy in the family, usually long, and so a lot of decision makers are involved. So sometimes you don't get first-hand access. You only hear what was said or read a report, which is not bad. But for people who
but that it's like that in all sectors. In politics, for instance, you can't join politics now and rise up to be a presidential candidate of a political party. You understand? Yes. You can't enter into a church now and become a pastor. They want to watch you.
Yes.
Even in cults, you can't join a cult today and rise to become a master. It takes time. But do you know also that most of the Gen Zs, they are always in a hurry.
So how opposite is
Was that why you moved to this
this
startup?
startup? So the reason why I moved to startup was because there are some things that a startup will do from an investor relations perspective that a bank will not do
Okay.
the same way.
Tell us more
For
about
example,
that.
fundraising.
Fundraising. Okay.
Yes, like you want to raise funds. If you're in the startup, there are different stages of funds.
Okay.
There's the pre-seed round, there's the seed round, there's the Series A. It's not like that in a bank. Bank is recapitalization, public offer, selling stock, rights issue, all of that. So I wanted to have a holistic idea about everything and participation in everything, so that when I see myself as someone who would like to be a consultant very soon, I should be able to advise people who are in banking or who are in tech to say, oh, what stage are you in? How are you ready for investment? Your investment readiness. And I can't learn that completely in a bank. I will learn it from a bank perspective because ideally a bank would have to, set up with a lot of regulation, CBN, SEC. If you are in an investment bank, you do CBN, you do SEC, you do FMDQ.
Okay.
How they raise theirs is usually in series as well, but the names are different. Commercial papers and CPs, all of that. That's what you're going to hear in investment banking. But when you come to tech, you hear another different language. You hear Series A, Series B, cap tables. In banking, you call it like your shareholders register and all of that. So I just find it very exciting learning new things, not learning the same thing over and over again. And in startups, there are a lot of volatility because what happened yesterday might not be what happened today. You also understand that investors have invested money into you. You learn that there are different kinds of investors. There are activist investors, there are passive investors, there are investors who want a share on the board. You need to understand stakeholder management to ensure that everybody's interest is satisfied. People who need to be well informed are well informed. You start understanding office politics as well, part of it. You would understand being in a board meeting. For example, when I was in banking, I never had it. So I attend a board meeting. When I was in banking, board meeting, we only hear about it. we don't partake. Being in a startup has been a blessing for me because rooms where I could never imagine that I would be in, founders that I usually see, like products that I hear about, like oh, this is Lempi, this is Money Point, this is Carrywise. I see them, and when greatness is close. If you are talking about some people, you hear them from a distance, but when you see the person, you're like, okay, this person has one head, one hand. Just that they have this grit, this courage. You now tell yourself, I think that is different. And for me to be here, I must be doing something right. It's not by accident that I'm here. Like I can really add value, and you can even make conversations. The access that being in a startup has given me, of course, it has its own volatility where you just be like, why is this place not even structured? But that's why you are there. Like, is it really in unstructured environment, in chaos and in crisis, that you see a lot of opportunities?
But is it when the startup start bringing in money that you talk about investing in it? Or
no, so it's when they want to start. You think you like their idea. You think that they have a vision, they have a plan, a roadmap. And it's like taking a risk, investing your money. It can come, it might not come back. And if it's going to come back, at what valuation is it going to come? Like,
are you looking at the personality of the visionary of the startup? Or you're just okay? For instance, I have money and somebody walks up to me. I want to come up with my own AI. You understand? For instance, will I just say, "Oh, this guy, why not? Hey, come and take some thousands of dollars."
So it's a combination of several factors. It's just the same thing like when the bank wants to, when a customer goes to the bank and say, I want to borrow money. The bank is not only going to look at your character and say it looks like you're a Christian. They'll check other things, the track record, what's the cash flow in your account like. So that's for banking. But when you're now coming to the investment world, you're looking at the character of the founders. Who are these people coming to? Because what they call it, you come to pitch. So I come to pitch.
Okay.
So I come to you to say, Pastor Joe, I have this idea, this is my idea, blah, blah, blah. As you're listening to me, you're not just listening to the idea, because some people are smooth talkers.
Yes.
They will just talk and they are just the talk and not the work. They don't work their talk. They're just talking, smooth talkers. You want to ask, okay, what is the traction? What's your track record? Where are you coming from? What are the things that you have done before? Have you done things and failed? Have you served before? What's your quality of experience? They will look at educational qualifications.
They will look at it, or
they look at it. They will. So that's where, when we are talking about investments, we say always do your due diligence. Don't invest in what you don't understand. Investigate before you invest. Ensure that you are comfortable from a personality or a character perspective. Because if a person is a person of integrity, if that person is going to turn to a business, because they're a person of integrity and character, they want to do everything in their power to ensure that that thing works. And should it not work, you know that they gave it their best. There are people who will say, I'd rather lose money than lose my name. But some people are very shameless. They don't care. They're just all about the money. What is integrity? You leave Nigeria and go to Canada and go and start again.
Oh, no.
So character plays a very key role, but character alone is not what to drive the business. You also need to check if they're doing a product. You want to check the product market fit, because sometimes what founders do is they find a gap in the market, but they don't find out if there's a market in the gap.
Explain that.
So you find a gap in the market to say that.
Give me, I'm asking these questions for my listeners and for my viewers.
Yes.
Explain it down to you are teaching us.
Okay. So when we're saying you are finding a gap in the market, you have identified that you've spoken to 1, 2, 3, 4 people.
Yes.
They need this thing that you're talking about.
Okay.
That's the fact that there's a gap in the market, there's a need for it.
Okay.
But when we say there's a market in the gap, is it only those 3 people that need that product? Or there are much more people?
Okay.
Because if it's just a few people, you can't start a company on a few people, because it's not going to be sustainable. So you want to extend your research and not just go with this highfalutin idea that 3 people need the product. So I think, and funny enough, you also want to know the problem you are solving is at what scale. Is it a local scale? Maybe it's just a problem that is within your street and your environment. If you take that same product to Kogi State, Kano State, is it something that people are willing to buy? And that's why we see all of these fintech products. It looks like they're selling because everybody wants loan, everybody wants to save, everybody wants more return, everybody wants to do cross-border transaction because they now have family and loved one outside. So if you come with a product now and say, it is faster, it is cheaper, within seconds, as long as your solution is better, faster, cheaper, you know that people will buy it, and it's serving a large scale of people.
Wow.
So you want to check your product market fit, that this product I've created, there are a lot of people who can buy it. It's easily accessible and it's also affordable.
Wow.
Right. And then you're also looking at the tech, because tech is changing.
Yeah.
The form of tech that used to be relevant now, such a big deal now, in the next couple of years,
they will
change. So do you have the skill to ensure that you keep staying relevant?
That's why the AI stuff is really.
Yeah. So anybody who has a business right now should not see AI as a threat. Instead, see it as an enabler. Look at it as a person that you can collaborate with to make your work better. So you want to start saying, which aspect of my business can I incorporate?
You should know one of you in YGI, Raphael, additional fellow. He's in the UK now. He left his prosperous, business or work here in Nigeria to go for masters, and he's doing AI, masters in AI in the UK. Oh yeah, he told me. He said, Pastor, what I'm doing here, making money, but the future is AI. So he left his wife and children here. He's fighting it over there, So there's future for it. And he's taking advantage. Are you taking advantage of AI too?
Oh yes, so I use AI to make my work easier, faster. I deliver very fast.
Okay.
So, for example, if I was to have a meeting with an investor,
Okay.
I won't just go into that meeting blindly. I research about the investor.
Okay.
And what AI does is it helps you to search, at least it will help you bring all the possible information that you could ever require about that particular person or that particular organization. Of course, they also write it there that AI is not accurate, you check. But that's like my first level research. So I usually give it a template. I'll say using this format. I give it a format. What's the name of the organization? When was it founded? Who are the promoters? What are the track record? Have they raised money? Who have they backed? Do they have a scandal? Like I give it all the possible things because like I mentioned, AI is artificial intelligence. But as humans, we also have intelligence. So our own actual intelligence.
It's the actual
because
the original.
The original because AI is still growing, so it is humans that are training it. So it's still actual intelligence that is training artificial intelligence.
Wow.
So once you get artificial intelligence, use your actual intelligence to double check. Don't just take what it gives you, hook, line, and sinker. So when it gives me that first level research, I now say, oh, it gives me the website of the company. I visit the website to see is it really accurate? Because sometimes two companies can look alike. So I now say, oh no, this is not the company that I'm looking for. And then I check the names of the promoter. I check against what comes up on the website. I check with the team. I check for other things, and I say, oh yeah, this is great. Another thing that and that's very fast because if I had to do that manually, one after the other, open several Google pages and newspaper, it might take me hours.
Yes.
But AI, helps you to shorten the time. It makes your delivery very fast, very reliable, and then it also gives you credibility because there's some information that AI will bring out that you would not see if you were even doing the research by yourself. So you see AI as your executive assistant or invisible or virtual technical assistant where you say, okay, you do the work, like be the forerunner, and then I'll be the Jesus Christ to check the work if it serves, and you can keep. AI will not get tired. Me, I can get tired. I can have mental fatigue, and my boss is saying, do this work, do this work. And you can tell your boss sometimes that you're tired, so you're like, thank God for AI. Just learn how to use it and learn how to use multiple.
Wow.
So the same request that I give to one AI tool, I'll give it to 5 others.
Okay.
They will definitely give you different, unique perspectives, and then I'll now put it together like fried rice. Make sure all the ingredients are.
You're a very good cook, I learned.
I try.
You were making money from deep food, or you were talking about tomatoes.
Yeah,
how did you come about that business?
It was when there was tomato Ebola around 2016.
Why do you call it tomato?
That was actually what they called it. That was the outbreak.
Okay.
Yes, in Nigeria. So it was tomato Ebola. So there was an outbreak where tomatoes became scarce, very expensive. They sell 4 balls for like 500. Wow. And funny enough, again, it was Shegun Afolabi that was serving in Jos.
Okay.
So I just reached out to him and said, do you have tomatoes in that area? He said, yes, they're even spoiled and all of that. I said, okay, please send me 2 baskets of tomatoes. I'll pick it at Ido. And so he packed it for me. I got it and started selling. Tomatoes.
Hey,
Yes.
Very about that.